Hi, welcome back. I'm glad you could join me today. My name's Bob Ross. No, it's not. My name's Joe Kuzmiak. My friends call me Kooz. I'd invite you to do the same. I'm a certified Bob Ross instructor from right here in the lovely Hudson Valley region of New York State. It's a beautiful day where I am, and I hope it is where you are too. Ready to paint a fantastic little painting with me today? Let's go up here to the canvas. I've got my standard old 18 by 24 pre-stretched canvas. It's covered with a thin, even coat of the liquid white. It's all slick and ready to go. So why don't we get started? I'm going to touch my brush into the phthalo blue. Just a touch, it's very strong. I'm going to reach up here and grab a touch of the midnight black. There we have black and blue. Black and blue. That's the way my wife makes me look when I stay out a little too late. Black and blue. Okay. We have good color in the brush. Let's go right up here to the canvas. Just using crisscross strokes. We're going to work our way across the top. Nice and gentle crisscross strokes or cross strokes. And by starting at the top and working our way down, the paint begins to mix with the liquid white, and automatically, it gets lighter and lighter as you get further back toward the horizon. It'll happen for you automatically. You don't have to do a thing. And by being lighter toward the horizon, you start to build that illusion of depth and distance in your painting. It should be lighter by the horizon and darker at the top and the bottom. Okay, we can just blend it like so, just like so. And then let's go across with long horizontal strokes just to take out any brush marks. There we go. We'll have this dirty old brush going. I'm going to go back into just a little bit of the color, a little more of the black, a little more of the blue. Let's have some water in this painting. I love painting water. Water's fantastic. And in this style of painting, it's one of the easiest things to do. We start at the outside and pull in. We start at the bottom and work my way up. Once again, the paint's going to mix with the liquid white, and it's going to get lighter and lighter as we get closer to the horizon. There we are. And by pulling from the outside in, you're not left with any harsh brush marks here that you have to blend out. Grab a little more of the color, right over here to the other side, and I'm going to leave a little area in the middle open. If everything works out just right, that'll look like a beautiful little sheen of light dancing on the water. Make your painting pretty. Okay? Very gently, let's go all the way across, just to blend it in. And your little light area stays there. You'll see as we get further on into the painting, it becomes your good friend. All right, and that easy. You have your water in. That easy. Let's wash our brush. We wash our brushes with odorless paint thinner. And I really suggest odorless paint thinner, or you'll be working alone. I'm going to shake out the excess. And just beat the devil. That's the most fun part of this whole technique. Let's have some happy little clouds in our sky today. I'm going to pull a 1-inch brush through some titanium white. I'm going to get just a touch of the bright red, just a little bit, just enough to tint it a little. All right, our first big decision. Where does our clouds live? Well, let's come right up here. Tiny little circular strokes. Keep the brush moving, and you will have to reload quite often. Keep the brush moving. Keep the brush moving. All right. Tiny little circular strokes. Maybe this cloud needs a friend. Everybody needs a friend. Where's that friend live? Let's say right about there. Yep. Maybe this is a lady friend. You just drop it in. Keep the brush moving. Tight little circular strokes. Right here. Yep. Right there. Okay. Let's go over to the other side. You know, having been giving classes for some time now, one of the things that's the most wonderful thing about it to me is there's a lot of folks come and, you know, they have very little to no painting experience, but they're big Bob Ross fans, and they come in and they just want to have a nice afternoon out and enjoy their time together and paint a picture. It's fun. And it's amazing. You wouldn't believe some of the paintings that these folks are able to make in just even their first time, it's just so wonderful. Just so wonderful. It brings them so much joy, and it brings me an incredible amount of joy just to be a part of it. Now I cover up my whole sky while I'm talking and with clouds, so let's blend these out. I'm going to grab the 2-inch brush. Tiny little circles, just the base of the cloud. Okay, let's come over here. We can blend this a little bit. Okay, then we're going to lift it up. Big circular motion, lift it up, fluff it, then go across. Same thing over here, big circular motion, lift it up, fluff it, and then go across. Isn't that a fantastic way of making some happy little clouds in your sky? It's easy, that easy. You can do it. Let's have a mountain in our painting today. Now, I've never been to Alaska, but after so many years of listening to Bob and watching him and paint pictures of Alaska, it seems like I've almost been there. But we have to make a big decision. Where does our mountain live? With good firm pressure, we're just going to push it in right here, right there. We're not concerned about what's going on in here, just the outside edge. All we're concerned about is the outside edge. You have to go use a firm pressure to push this paint in. And mountains are one of the most fun and educational things to paint. They teach you to make friends with this knife. Okay? If you make friends with this knife, you can make some of the most fantastic effects with it. It's just wonderful. But you have to make friends with it. Alright, now I'm going to scrape out all of the excess. You can probably hear how hard I'm scraping. Don't worry about this old canvas, you're not going to hurt it. It's tough. All the excess. There we go. I'm going to wipe off my knife. I'm going to grab a 2-inch brush. We're going to pull this paint out. And because this canvas is wet, you can move this paint. So we're just going to pull it down and blend it away at the bottom. Pull down, blend away. And if you can see an entire mountain, it's always more distinct at the top than it is at the bottom. Well, that's because of fog and mist, moisture, and nowadays pollution. All those things that diffuse light. There, we just blend it away at the bottom. Blend it. And there, we'll just have a floating mountain in our sky. There we are. Grab my knife. Let's have some snow on this mountain. I'm going to pull out the titanium white. To that, I'm going to add just a touch of the bright red. Just a touch. Before you know it, you set your white on fire. Not too much, just a little indication of some color in it. Pull it out nice and flat. Cut across, get that little roll of paint. Come right up here. The point of my knife on the point of the mountain, I'm going to pull down. No pressure, no pressure. No pressure, let the paint break. No pressure. You have to use a good thick paint in order to be able to do this. If you're trying to do this with a thin, oily paint, you're probably going to become a mud mixer. You won't be too happy with me. So make sure your paint is good and firm and dry. You can do this. Just let that paint break. Now, it takes a little bit of practice. When you're at home practicing, grab an old canvas or something and just paint mountain after mountain. And in no time at all, you'll start getting the feeling of how little pressure it takes and how the paint feels against the canvas. No time at all. You can do this. Okay. Maybe you want to have this peak here catching a little bit of sun. We'll give that just a little bit of a highlight up here. There we are. Okay. Now let's make a shadow color. I'm going to take my white and a touch of the Prussian blue. Just a touch. Prussian blue is very strong color, very strong. One tube in the ocean would change the color. I'm going to mix it up well. Pull it out flat. I'm going to cut across. Give a little roll of paint. And now we're going to pull the shadows in the opposite direction. Once again, no pressure. no pressure. Just pull in the opposite direction, just barely grazing the canvas. Okay? Now maybe you want this peak to be in the background. We'll put that shadow in first. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Then we'll come up here to this peak and we'll pull this shadow down distinctly in front of it. There you go. See? Told you had all kinds of power on this canvas. So you just move the mountain. Isn't that fantastic? You know, when I paint with my son Steve, I have him do a fun little exercise. I have him take a clean knife and he runs it down his arm. And I ask him to just touch the hair on his arm and not let the knife touch his skin. And that gives him a little indication of exactly how gentle of a touch it is. I'm going to wipe off my knife. I'm going to grab a 2-inch brush. Once again, I want to create the illusion of some mist at the base of this mountain. I'm just going to tap following the angles of the mountain, and I'm going to lift up just to take the tap marks out. On the shadow side, I'm going to do the same. Lift up, just take the tap marks out. There we go. Now, maybe you want to have another range in front of this mountain. You just have to make a decision and drop it in. Watch here. Watch here. Take your highlight color. No pressure. No pressure. Okay? Maybe in your world, there's a little bump on your mountain. Right about here. No pressure. Okay? And we can put some highlight on the face of this mountain here. There we go. There. Now, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense until we come back in with the shadow color. See, watch here. Once again, very gentle, pulling in the opposite direction. See that? Just pops right in there. This one needs a shadow. Every highlight needs its own shadow, or it won't come out and play with you. Make sure that paint breaks. And maybe, oh, maybe a little here, a little there. There. Wipe off my knife. Back to the 2-inch brush. Again, create a little mist in front of this one, following the angles of the mountain. Lift up gently. Same thing on the shadow side. Lift up gently. And there you go. Isn't that fantastic? I'm gonna have some fun. Let's make a good dark color. I'll take my mountain mix, some midnight black, Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, alizarin crimson, and I'll even add some sap green to that. Make a good amount of a nice dark color, very dark. Should look just about black on the palette. There we are. There. Wipe off my knife. Let's take a 1-inch brush. We'll just pull through some of that paint. Maybe you want to have some trees and bushes at the base of this mountain. Just going to pull the brush through. Just pop in some trees and bushes right here. There we are. There's one. And another one here. Just push the brush into the canvas. Let the bristles bend a little bit. Makes all these beautiful little leafy things. And maybe we'll have one more right over here. That's a big one. Pretty. All right. Maybe we'll have one more right here. There we are. And while I have this color on the brush, we can drop some right down here into the water. There we are. That easy. That easy. Boy, it looks like I got a mess going on here. But watch this. You know, reflections used to give me a fit. Whew. But in this style of painting, one of the easiest things is take your brush, pull straight down. Pull straight down. Very gentle, pull straight down. Now go across, very gentle. Isn't it a fantastic way of making some beautiful little reflections? I'm going to take a 1-inch brush into a touch of the liquid white, and I'm going to pull through the cad yellow. I'm going to reach up here and get a little bit of the sap green. There we go. A lot of paint on the brush. Let's add some highlights to these bushes here. Some beautiful highlights. The sun's just kissing the leaves. And while we have the color on the brush, just put it right down into the water. And I'm going to go back and forth between yellows, yellow ochre, maybe a little bit of the Indian yellow, a little bit of the green in the color. Just going to change it up, just to change the flavor just a little bit. There we are. Back and forth. Just adding beautiful highlight after highlight. We'll put a little bit of that down into the water. Okay. Maybe this one. Yep, there he is. Put that down into the water. And you know, you can take your brush sideways and push up. Isn't that fantastic? It makes all these beautiful little grassy things here on the shore. And get a little highlight on this one. There we are. Bring that down into the water. There. Okay. Back to the 2-inch brush. Once again, very gently. 2 hairs and some air. Boy, that's gentle. 2 hairs and some air. Straight down. Straight down. And then lightly go across. Isn't that a fantastic way of making some beautiful little mirrored reflections? I'm just going to grab a touch of the liquid white to that. Just going to add just a touch of the dark sienna. Cut across. Let's have a little water line in here. Just come right in here. Good firm pressure. Just cut it in. Don't worry about this canvas. Use a good firm pressure. You're not going to hurt this canvas. It's tough. There we go. It's very important to make sure that your water lines are basically straight. Otherwise, it might look like your water's running out of your picture onto your floor. All right. Let's take the 1-inch brush. Load a lot of that dark color onto the bristles. Pull it through. Give it a wiggle. I'm trying to make a nice chiseled edge on this brush. It takes a lot of paint to do that. Let's come right up here. Let's have an evergreen in this painting. There's one. Just going to start with a line. I'm going to go to the corner of the brush, working down the tree, side to side. As I come down the tree, just using a little bit more pressure as I come down. Bends the bristles a little bit more. Uses a little more of the brush. Makes all these interesting little things on the tree. It's beautiful. Okay, one more. One more right here. There it is. Corner of the brush. Now you could do this with a 2-inch brush, a 1-inch brush. You could do it with a fan brush. Fan brushes are fantastic for making these evergreen trees. They make such a beautiful, elegant evergreen tree. You know what? Where there's 2 trees, you're bound to have a third eventually. You know how those rascals are. You got to keep your eye on them. Let's have one more right here. Once again, just the corner of the brush. Work your way down. As you come down, add more pressure. There we are. There you go. Now maybe at the base of these trees on this landmass, we have some beautiful little bushes and shrubs living here. Just push this good dark color in with your brush. Just push it in. Don't let it slide. If it slides, it gives you a different effect. Just push. When you push, it gives you all these leafy effects. It looks real nice. All right, we can drop some of that down. Make sure there's some in the water for a reflection. And if you want, we can even get a little indication of these evergreens just sticking up out of those reflections. That'd be nice. There we are. Just an indication. Let's go over to the other side. We don't want it to feel lonely and get left out. Once again, between each tree, I'm going to sharpen my brush. Let's have a big old evergreen. You know me, I like big trees. Let's have one, let's say right here. Yep, there it is. Starting with the corner of the brush, working my way down. You know, I always remember Bob saying he had a woman in class called the Z trees. And I got to say, I've never forgotten that. Every time I paint these trees, I think it's a Z tree. I'm thinking of the pattern of a Z. And boy, that's a wonderful, wonderful analogy. And for me, it really works. I love it. Let's have one more. This tree needs a friend. Everybody needs a friend. Right here. Well, let's work our way down. There we are. There we go. Perfect. Now maybe on the side here, we'll have a big old bush or maybe a small tree. Right here. Just going to push it in. Just push it in. There we are. We'll come back and highlight that in a few minutes. And just like on the other side, let's have some bushes and shrubs that live right down here at the base of these trees. Why, wouldn't be a bad place to live right here. Beautiful view of the mountain. Could you imagine waking up to that every day? This is your world. You can have whatever you want on it. I wouldn't mind living right here with these bushes. Okay, and we'll drop some of that down into the water. Make sure we get some reflections out of this. There we are. And, well, we put those evergreens on the other side. I think we better put them here as well. All right, make sure this one comes out here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to grab my knife. I'm going to take a touch of the dark sienna. To that, I'm going to add some titanium white. Pull it out nice and flat. We get a little roll of paint. Come up here, and just here and there, wherever you think, I'm going to put the indication of a tree trunk. Now you wouldn't see the entire trunk in nature. Certainly you won't be able to see it here in the painting. But just here and there, just an indication. There we are. Now, then you can take your knife, turn it sideways. You can scratch all these little twigs and sticks in over here. And some of this may get covered up, but some may wind up, you may see it through the reflection or the highlights that we put on. And you know, people think you worked a long time putting all this detail in. But don't you tell them any different. That's our little secret. All right. I'm going to go back to my 1-inch brush I was using for the highlights. I'm going to touch into the paint thinner a little bit. I'm going to go through my cad yellow. I'm going to add a touch of the midnight black, because black and yellow together make a beautiful dark green color. Let's come up here and add just some highlights to this beautiful tree. Now you kind of have to think like a tree. You know, where does your branches and your leaves live? Don't just throw this on at random. The entire time I'm always thinking like a tree. It might sound a little bit strange, but always trying to think like a tree. Where would the branches be? Where would the leaves be? Well, I'm going to come right down here and start on these bushes and shrubs here. Put the reflection right down into the water. And just like in the background, I'm going to go back and forth between the yellow ochre and the yellows and the greens. Just make it very interesting. Change the flavor here and there. There we are. There's a pretty one. Ooh, that's nice. Okay. And use the brush sideways and maybe put in all these little things. All these pretty little things. We have one more here. Yeah, one more there. It is. Oh, that's pretty color. There we are. Just down into the water. All those colors down. Maybe a little brighter one right down here. Oh, yep, there it is. That's a pretty one. There we are. Okay. Same thing on the other side. So we're going to start with the bush that's furthest away. Work our way forward. helping to build the illusion of depth and distance in our painting. Here we are. It's a nice one. Ooh, that's a pretty one. Here we are. Bring that right down into the water. Another one. Let's see, right about there. Yep. Ooh, there it is. Okay, maybe we'll touch into a little bit of the bright red in the corner of this one. This one. Oh yeah, that's pretty. That's a firecracker right there. Ooh, that's a pretty one. And just keep in mind, we're doing this all in layers. Starting with the bush that's furthest away, and working our way forward. There we are. Bring some of this down into the water. A little bit of the red. There. Okay. 2-inch brush. I'm just going to pull down very, very gently. Very, very gently. It's important that you pull down straight too. If you don't pull down straight, your reflections will look all crookedy. Okay, very gently go across. Same thing over here. Straight down. Straight down. And then very gently go across. Just enough to distort it. Just a little bit. Isn't that fantastic? Okay, I'm going to grab my knife. A little bit of the Van Dyke Brown. Let's come up here and give these bushes and trees a little land to sit on. Just made friends with all these guys. You wouldn't want them to fall into the water, make a big splash. It'll scare that trout that lives out here. I'll never be able to catch him. Come over here. Let's do the same thing. Just pull it in. There we are. Just pull it. The water usually sits in a recessed area. Well, this will help it look like it's sitting down a little bit. I'm going to take a touch of the white and the dark sienna and the Van Dyke Brown all mixed together. Make a little highlight color here. Very gently. Pull across. Make this look like some rocks and stones and whatever. All kinds of pretty little things. Here we are. Very gentle. Just pull it across. There. Okay. I'm going to cut across my liquid white. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a water line here. There we are. Come over here. Same thing. I'm going to go back to my 1-inch brush that I was doing all the highlights with. And let's give these evergreens just a touch, just a little bit of a highlight color. Darker, darker as you go down to the base. Okay. Right over here. There we go. A couple more. Right here. Not everywhere. Keep a lot of the dark. Just here and there. Darker toward the bottom. And let's get this one over here. The old clock on the wall says it's just about time to go. So I hope you enjoyed our time together. I have to say it's been a great pleasure spending some time with you today. Until the next time, I'd like to wish you happy painting. God bless, my friend.